the 98 Vols that won the national title. He was part of it. We're trying to get us on Facebook Live right now, and my phone is falling down so you can see me. Now we are back on the air. All right. Also, the 2013 national championship at Florida State. He was the offensive coordinator there. Worked at Kentucky under Rich Brooks for how long, you know. He coached 2 number 1 overall picks in the NFL draft, Peyton Manning and Jameis Wilson. In fact, in the notes, and I'm holding them up right here, Philip Fulmer, you'd expect them to be putting positive quotes on there, but look at the names who are giving Randy Sanders those quotes. Philip Fulmer, Peyton Manning, Jameis Winston, who was spoke of a lot on Sunday afternoon at the press conference, Mike Smith, Randy Sanders, a highly respected coach and outstanding fit for ETSU. I look forward to supporting him and celebrating championship-level success in the future. Go Bucks. Okay, well, that's kind of a modest quote. That's not much there, but no. Mike Smith was a name. David Cutcliffe, who he worked with, Tennessee. So those are the names right now that they are talking about. And there are some criticisms that deserve to be made. Caleb Calhoun, a very legitimate one. Did he coach up T. Martin enough back in his tenure 20 years ago? There's a lot of talk about Jameis Winston and how, you know, Jameis Winston was tutored so much by Sanders. Well, what does that mean? I mean, Winston has not exactly been, certainly at Florida State, the cleanest cut football player ever. Is there a question now about the character of a player that will come to ETSU? All right, you can ask those questions. But the resume is most impressive. Now, let's compare that to Jeremy Pruitt. Jeremy Pruitt, 11 years ago, 13 years as well, was coaching high school football. Meanwhile, Randy Sanders was coaching at Tennessee that same time. Something to think about. Jeremy Pruitt, and it is said one of his former players, Brooks Tilley, said that he came to Georgia in 2014, rocked their world. He was intense. He also cussed a lot, which I know at ETSU is not really looked at. I'm sure it's happened before at ETSU, but it's not really accepted as much as maybe it is some other places, which may be a bit backwater. I don't know. On the other hand, I have worked for profane people, and after a while it gets to you. You know, I mean, I'll be brutally honest with you there. A couple of GDs over the course of time doesn't really bother me that much. It becomes that's your number one modifier. You start thinking this guy is stupid or angry. You know, so I mean, that's sort of the way that I look at that. The interesting thing about Brooks Tilley, he said, I would say half of the players on our roster were very good athletes and the other half were straight up stealing. By stealing, I mean getting an education, a scholarship for free, but not doing much in the SEC. Pruitt was fully aware of this and increased his intensity tenfold. Basically weeding out the people who wanted to play who didn't. I would expect similar from Sanders as well at ETSU. A new broom sweeps clean. Elite recruiting. You won't get the elite recruiting at ETSU. You just won't. What I am very intrigued by is I think that on Wednesday, the early signing date at college football, you'll have a lot of the blue chippers go away. And I think it can actually help a team like ETSU. Because I think what an ETSU can offer is what they offer transfers from larger programs. Hey, we can give you a chance to start right away, or say you're going after a quarterback, we'll redshirt you, and then you might be here for 4 years starting after Austin Herrick, who also talked. I had some interesting things to talk to with Austin here that I'll get to in just a minute. But I think that that's what will happen. I think actually the early signing date will benefit schools like ETSU. I think that's also why you hire Randy Sanders, because I can remember Carl Torbers saying, boy, this is an early signing. That's new to me. He was from a previous generation, and getting a coach now that may be more adept at being able to handle the changes and the changing landscape of college football. It is said Jeremy Pruitt is an excellent evaluator of talent. Hey, Peyton Manning, Jameis Winston, you tell me. That's the Sanders legacy. Negatives about Pruitt, experience. Same thing really with Sanders. We don't know what his play call will be on 4th and 1. We don't know if he will run a tight ship or if the future players that are brought in will be coming from wretched hives of scum and villainy. We don't know that. Patience. I wonder how much patience ETSU fans will have versus Tennessee fans. And I know that many are one and the same. But I do mean that. I think that we could see more patience actually for Jeremy Pruitt than ETSU. I think with Pruitt coming from Alabama, I think that you're looking at, I think most Tennessee fans recognize there is a rebuilding project underway. I think ETSU fans are kind of looking at that 4-7 from last year. I know I am, and saying, is that all there is? I was flying in from Florida yesterday, talking to people waiting in line. It is the airport. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm picking up my daughter from ETSU. Oh, I was part of the BFFF. I was with Billy Taylor and so on, and Jeremy Robertson, to bring a new football coach into ETSU. Or not a football coach, but ultimately, but a football team to ETSU. I was part of that. And he looks at me and he says, well, they just raised my daughter's tuition $1,000 a year, so that's where I stand on that. I don't know if that's directly attributable to the football program. In fact, I would imagine it was not. Football program fees like that come from student fees, athletic fees, etc., or supposedly. I know it is difficult when you have something along the lines of, oh, we're going to build this new school and we'll do it on a one-time sales tax or something in this town. Okay, and then you find your property taxes have risen or something. And you say, I get that. No, I do. But there isn't, it's an easy statement. It is difficult to prove direct correlation. But still, there is, I think, an element, and I've talked about it here, of blah with ETSU football. And so Sanders has got to win. In fact, if he doesn't, there's going to be a perception that the SOBs, the same old Bucks, are here to stay. Sanders is inheriting a program that in 36 seasons over 47 years has had 3 years that you'd say were above average. 7 or more victories. That's it. 97, 96, and 79. Everything else, not that there weren't moments, but the team that beat NC State in 87 finished 5-6. I mean, there have been more losses than victories over the years at ETSU. So, the perception may be that if Sanders, from the sainted 98 Tennessee Volunteers, and boy, are the 98 Tennessee Volunteers being resurrected in 19 years later with Phil Fulmer, the AD at Tennessee, and ETSU hiring Randy Sanders. Well, I would only say that you're looking at a circumstance where, yes, Sanders is brought in to win, and if he doesn't, if it's still even the 6-5 marks with a new stadium, with the facilities of the indoor training facility that is so wonderful in the mini dome, with the money that William Green gave for the stadium that should be named after John Robert Bell, with the prestige. I mean, ETSU just hired the biggest name coach in the Southern Conference among their football teams, among their football members. You could argue there are bigger name basketball coaches perhaps, but, no more football. And I think the pressure is on Sanders more than Pruitt. Even if Pruitt falls in his face, Tennessee fans are still going to think, rightly or wrongly, this team should be a winner. Sanders doesn't succeed. There isn't that thought at ETSU, new stadium or no. One thing that is talked about with Pruitt is that he's not a polished coach. Sanders kind of is. He gave great answers in his press conference, and he was not trying to be evasive. It was actually complimentary, a couple of questions that I asked. You heard the promo at 12:15. He wants to lead. He said that he thinks the program is a potential gold mine. I kind of think it might be as well, because I think major sports entity outside of BMS, but that's more of an event in the area, major sports entity in the area, and there's something to be said. This is an area that's a top 100 market. It's bigger actually than Baton Rouge. I've noticed the lack of, shall we just say, sports. I know I've talked about this and how that has sometimes prevented, I think, the Tri-Cities from being as cosmopolitan as it could be. Example, and I talk about this from time to time, 27 years ago, the Tri-Cities and Las Vegas were about the same size TV market. They were both number 90. I think we're now 92, I think. I could be off a spot or two, but anyway. Now Las Vegas is number 40. Now there are a lot of reasons for that, but I think that one of the main reasons why is that people like to go to a cosmopolitan area. There are few places that are more cosmopolitan than Las Vegas, Nevada. But the one thing that Oscar Goodman, the mayor over there, thought that he didn't have, that he wanted, were sports teams, pro sports teams. Well, you always had UNLV. You always had the big fights. But the identity of a major sports franchise. So the Raiders are moving there, and the Golden Knights were created this year. Okay, Johnson City, Tennessee, the Tri-Cities, we're a long way off from getting an NFL team to move here. We get that, okay? That's not going to happen. But that college program that gives you identity, the way UNLV once gave Las Vegas, maybe they didn't need a major college basketball program to win a national championship to put Las Vegas on the map. It was already there. But you know what? The Tri-Cities sort of does. And if you can have a good football program, if you can have a football program that could rise the athletic prestige of ETSU, the way a good football program rose the athletic prestige of Appalachian State, there is more chance for future growth, both culturally in the area and, for that matter, a winning team with winning ETSU football. That'll help ETSU basketball. That'll help all the sports. That, David Mullins, is winning the right way. In fact, hold that thought, because I had a very prestigious ETSU coach tell me at the press conference yesterday something very damning about the previous administration, the one that cut football, Tri-City Sports Now.